Hello and welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the dceu Daily. Remember, you can tag me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad with any topics, suggestions for videos, anything. I will talk about anything and, really give my opinions on what's going on in the mainstream, whether it be movies, TV, political stuff, anything. If you want to know what I think, please tag me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad. As I said, welcome to Tuesday's edition of the dceu Daily. You are very welcome. Lots of articles to read today on the DC Extended Universe. And here's the first one from Heroic Hollywood, where the designer from Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, explains how Snyder's Robin died. Batman v Superman designer reveals how Zack Snyder's Robin died. One of the costume designers on Zack Snyder's Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice reveals exactly how the Joker killed Robin years before the film's beginning. When Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice first arrived in theatres, one of the biggest questions many fans had was about what really happened to Robin, who was murdered by the Joker. Zack Snyder never explicitly showed what happened or even which version of the Boy Wonder has been killed. David Ayer later confirmed that in the universe, Joker had murdered Dick Grayson instead of Jason Todd, which is a huge change from the source material. Now, before we go on, why would you change kind of the canon and kill Dick Grayson instead of Jason Todd? At first, I was kind of frustrated about this, but now I get it. If you kill Jason Todd in the DCEU, yeah, it's canon. It's something to talk about. But if you kill off Dick Grayson, this wounds Bruce Wayne more. Why? Because it's Dick Grayson. It's his very first Ward. It's his very first Robin. It's the most important Robin. You kill him off and you destroy Bruce Wayne. This is what makes this even more compelling. Costume designer Douglas J. Stewart took to Instagram to explain what went into the process of making the Robin costume, which was on display in Bruce Wayne's Batcave during the Zack Snyder film. He also revealed that they had to create a very specific look for the suit, since the Joker had brutally murdered Robin before setting him on fire. It feels a bit harsh, but also feels completely in line with Jared Leto's villain in the DC Extended Universe. Take a look at the designer discussing Robin's death below. A bit of detail on Robin's gauntlet. He was brutally murdered and then set ablaze by the Joker. The story had to be told in the salvaged costume on display inside the Batcave. Aging and speciality distressing needs to tell these unscripted tales that support the main framework of the film. Here we had to create a Robin suit in a matter of days using what we had and then figure out how to modify it all as well as building the support interior. It was a lot of fun. We worked together to make this and a whole lot of this movie happen. Brilliant. So that's brilliant. And where are we now? Here is the official synopsis of Batman v Superman. We don't need that, do we? Right. Yeah, so this is brilliant. I've been thinking about this for quite a while in terms of movie journalism now. When you've got so many people within the industry with Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts telling us this first-hand information, and then you get this information second-hand. Now, I discussed this the other day about Jared Leto's Joker and how he killed Robin, but I didn't know the details. So even though we already discussed this, I thought it was important to get the details from the horse's mouth. I think that Jared Leto's Joker killing Robin in the Batcave and that being the reason the whole mansion burns down is amazing. Sorry, I said Batcave, didn't I? But, to actually kill and burn Dick Grayson's Robin in Wayne Manor, not only do you hurt him once, but you hurt him again. It's everything. Wayne Manor is his parents. It's their soul. It's what his family meant. So, and then, again, by beating Dick Grayson to death and then burning him alive, you literally kill Bruce Wayne inside. You kill his soul all over again. And that's why I think it was quite more important that it was Dick Grayson who died within the DC Extended Universe rather than Jason Todd. Jason Todd isn't a popular Robin. Nobody liked him originally in the comics. This was the original reason why they killed him off. Nobody really cared that Jason died, but they cared how it affected Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, and I think that was the whole point of it. But by doing it with Dick Grayson, makes it even more severe. And so, how do I think we are going to see this kind of explained in Zack Snyder's Justice League? As I said when I was talking about this the other day, I do believe there will be extended flashbacks for this, and we will see this actually happening, which means they are going to cast a Dick Grayson, which is very, very exciting. Now, if Dick Grayson was the first Robin in the DC Extended Universe, then eventually we would maybe see a Jason Todd or somebody else, because Dick Grayson is dead. But if Flashpoint, which it is going to do, is going to reboot the entire universe, we could get Dick Grayson all over again. Now, wouldn't that be shocking? Wouldn't that be interesting? And wouldn't that be something worth talking about if it actually happens? I've got a lot of time for Asher Angel, who obviously was in the Shazam movie as the young version of the character. And this is just a fun little article by Rachel Abernathy of Screen Rant. And just talking about how Asher's saying that Cavill's Superman could beat Johnson's Black Adam. How awesome is that? Yeah, as I say, I've spoken to Asher a couple of times on social media. Really good young man, lots of fun. Really proud of the fact that he's part of the DC Extended Universe. So let's give this a read. Shazam star Asher Angel Billy Batson has spoken. Henry Cavill's Superman could defeat Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam in the DC Extended Universe. Now, if you said to me which movie is he going to be in with this kind of discussion, is it Shazam Fury of the Gods or the Black Adam movie? I actually think that Cavill is going to be in both movies, so watch this space. Shazam star Asher Angel has spoken. Henry Cavill's Superman could defeat Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam. Angel made his DCEU debut in 2019 Shazam as young Billy Batson, a wayward foster kid searching for his birth mother. Along the way, Billy meets an ancient wizard, Digimon Hunzu, who gives Billy with the ability to turn into an adult superhero, Zachary Levi. Whenever he says the word Shazam, unsurprisingly, Billy uses his powers for childish purposes at first, but he matures throughout the film to become a worthy hero. Angel is expected to return for the sequel in Shazam Fury of the Gods. Not expected, he will. Meanwhile, Johnson's Black Adam is still awaiting his big DCEU arrival. Black Adam was originally scheduled for release in December 2021, but the latest schedule change left the long-awaited film without a release date. Nevertheless, Black Adam is slated to begin filming in spring 2021, and fans are eager to learn more about it. Johnson and director Jaume Collet-Serra have so far kept plot details under wraps, but Johnson has already teased a potential Black Adam versus Superman fight down the road. Now, listen, this is something people want, and they really want a Black Adam Superman battle. I do not believe down the road meant in another movie. He kind of said we'll talk about that down the road. So, yeah, they do play with quotes a lot. I expect Henry to be in Black Adam, and I expect him to be in Fury of the Gods. The question of Superman or Black Adam has made the rounds across the internet, and now Angel has put in his 2 cents. In a new interview with the Geek House show, Angel was asked who he would single out as the victor in a battle between Black Adam and Superman. After struggling to settle on an answer, Angel went with the iconic DC hero Superman. His full answer is as follows. That's tough. I don't know. I want to go with a good guy. I want to go with Superman, but I just don't know. Black Adam is very powerful. It's 2 very powerful characters, so I think I'm going to say Superman. I'm going to say Henry Cavill. No offense, Dwayne Johnson. You do your thing. I guess we'll see. We'll see if he proves me wrong, but I'm going to go with Superman right now. As Angel points out, both Superman and Black Adam are incredibly powerful characters, so it's hard to pick a definitive winner. Fans would certainly love to see the 2 go head-to-head on the big screen, though it remains to be seen if it will ever come to fruition. Johnson seemingly teased a clash between the 2 at DC Fandom. But with Cavill's DCEU future being such a big question mark, it's hard to say what the future holds. Most likely, Black Adam will meet Angel's own DCEU character first. No, you're wrong, as he's Shazam's arch enemy in the comics. No. Cavill will be in Fury of the Gods and Black Adam. And if this is not the case, because I've done it before on this channel, I will turn up just wearing my boxer shorts. That's how confident I am. Shazam Fury of the Gods was recently delayed to June 2023, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's the article. So that's what Asher Angel is saying. Listen, I'll just reiterate what I've already said. I believe that Henry is going to be in Shazam 2 and Black Adam. Why do I think this? Because it makes perfect sense. We've already seen his Superman in it. We didn't see him, but we've seen his Superman. It makes sense. There's got to be a continuation of that relationship. You know, he already knows Shazam. Shazam went to get him, right, to meet Freddy at the school at the end of the movie. It was a beautiful kind of, I suppose, present to his dear friend. So already they know each other. So that relationship is obviously going to continue. Of course, Superman can't solve Shazam's problems because this is Shazam's story and movie, but he will be involved. I think he will be involved a hell of a lot more in Black Adam. Now, if Henry Cavill wasn't to be involved in Black Adam, then I would go with my previous theory, which I'm sure you've seen the video for in previous DCEU daily videos, where I believe they were actually going to give us an original, older Superman from the past, because we're already getting the Justice Society of America. So what if there's a Justice Society America version of Superman, a different Superman? But basically, whatever happens, we're going to see a Superman in Shazam 2 and Black Adam, and I am here for it. A bit of a boring story if you're a nerd who just wants to talk about the comics, films and TV shows, but I think it's important for all DC fans to understand what's going on here. This is by Sean Corley. DC Comics, Mary Javins officially named editor-in-chief. Now, Mary was already the editor-in-chief, but she was a stand-in. Now, the role is officially hers. After sharing the duties for the summer with Michelle Wells, Mary Javins has been announced as the new editor-in-chief of DC Comics. Mary Javins has officially been named the new and sole editor-in-chief of DC Comics. Javins has been serving as an interim editor-in-chief alongside Michelle Wells since former EIC Bob Harras left his position this past summer. Javins' appointment comes on the heels of massive editorial changes at DC Comics over the past year, which also saw longtime co-publisher Dan Didio released from the company go, and Jim Lee became the sole publisher as well as being promoted to Chief Creative Officer. Javins is a veteran of the comics industry, which is good. She knows her comics, bringing substantial experience in both the creative and editorial side. In addition to editorial and colouring work at Marvel in the 90s, Javins worked for Teshkil Publishing, which licenses English language comics for the Middle Eastern and Northern African regions. Working out of their Cairo office, Javins helped introduce readers in those regions to the likes of Hulk, Batman and Archie. Returning stateside, Javins signed on in a temp role to help DC relocate to their Burbank offices and wound up staying on permanently. She was ultimately promoted to executive editor of global publishing and digital strategy, where she oversaw a number of critically acclaimed titles, such as the Snugglepuss Chronicles and Superman Smashes the Klan. As mentioned, Javins has been serving as interim editor-in-chief with Michelle Wells. In an official press release, DC Senior Vice President and General Manager Daniel Cherry III expressed confidence in the decision, stating Javins in Strinical understood comics, praising her abilities at mentioning the next generation of comic book creators and helping them find their voices. Publisher Jim Lee also spoke directly to those comic fans who have long known of Javins' role within the company. Anyone who has been fortunate enough to work with Mary in the comics business knows two things about her. One, that she has the impeccable creative instincts and the talent relationships needed to create the kind of stories our fans crave and demand. And two, that her deep knowledge of the global business of comics and its endless variations of storytelling means big things are on the horizon for DC in years to come. In the same release, Javins expresses her enthusiasm for the role, saying she is honoured to take the reins of DC Comics. As a young girl, devouring comics of Wonder Woman, Nubia, and Supergirl, I never dreamed that decades later I'd be at the helm of the mighty DC Comics. That's right, Gil, mighty. I'm incredibly honoured by this responsibility and will dedicate myself to supporting and challenging DC's extended family of staff, talent, retailers, and partners around the world in our quest to tell initiative visual stories that both reflect and expand our world, and in some cases, our galaxy and multiverse. DC Comics has made a wise decision in promoting Javins to the role of editor-in-chief. Her work at DC alone speaks volumes, as many of the titles she oversaw as editor of global publishing, such as Snugglepuss Chronicles, were highly acclaimed by both critics and readers. In some cases, the titles even received mainstream media coverage, showing Javin knows how to develop and satisfy an audience. In a time when DC Comics' future is somewhat uncertain, no, it's not uncertain at all, Mary Javin's success and commitment to developing new audiences could prove to be critical, and that's why she's there. Let's be absolutely clear about this reaffirmment, this cementing of this appointment that was already there, but they've made her permanent, right? So it's like a temporary football manager. You know, temporary, they like what she did, they looked at her, and now she's permanent. It's a good decision, because what AT&T have done by binning Didio and people like this, what you've got to understand about comics, it's never been a big business. It's been about the art and the love of doing it. There's been a little bit of money coming in, but it's never been a high-stake, profitable market. Now, seeing we are in the era of superheroes, right? They are the new cowboys, if you like. It's staggering to a company like AT&T to think, why aren't we turning over a profit? So this appointment and everything they're doing with Jim Lee and everything they're doing with the films right now is to make sure they subsidize every cent to make a profit and to make a substantial profit. These decisions are right and proper as a business. But of course, they've got to do great stories and integrate these brilliant DC characters. I think this is a positive move, and I'm very, very excited for it. I have discussed Superman Returns so many times for this channel. I do have a warm feeling in my heart for the movie. I remember seeing clips for it, and I was very, very excited. And, you know, Bryan Singer used new technology in terms of his IMAX cameras and everything, and the film looked beautiful. And so I was so excited for this film. And when I saw it, and when that John Williams music came on with the original kind of credit styles they used in the original, you know, Donnerverse, it was exciting that Bryan was continuing this universe. Unfortunately, Bryan couldn't make his mind up. Was this a love letter for the Donnerverse? Was it a continuation? Was it something new? He was trying to do both. But actually, in fact, Superman Returns is a really good, solid, interesting Superman movie. And it asks some very interesting questions like, does the world need Superman? Do we need someone to catch us when we fall? If it's Superman, yeah, you fucking catch me, baby, because Superman's been there for me since I was 10 years old. He stopped me from killing myself. He's made me feel better about myself when I was about to do the wrong thing. I've done the right thing, all because of this character. This character is accessible and relevant, and we need him oversaturated everywhere. Now, Brandon Routh has actually spoken about why we never got a Superman Returns 2. Now, before I start this, because I don't think this article covers it, this is by someone called Tom Shaffelbash. These names are doing it on purpose, I'm telling you. Anyway, let me explain to you what happened. So, actually, Bryan Singer's Superman Man of Steel, which was the film, we covered this as well, but let's go over it again. Yeah, Bryan Singer's Superman Returns sequel was Superman Man of Steel. So the whole idea of this film was that Brainiac was going to arrive, and initially Superman would meet him and show him around, and they'd have a good intellectual discussion. But then once Brainiac discovers that he's actually protecting the planet rather than conquering it, Brainiac doesn't understand this because, of course, he's gone, you know, he's captured so many worlds, right, and put them in glass or bottles or whatever he does, right. And so that's when him and Superman fall out. And this is when things become very dirty. And as I've explained before, I have actually read the original outline for the script of Superman, Man of Steel. And the whole idea is, the central point of the third act is that Superman actually kills his son, Jason. How this happens is Brainiac takes the form of young Jason, but he doesn't realize at this point that the person he kills actually is his son, Jason. So if you think about, how Lois is going to react to this, how she's going to feel about him, how Perry White's nephew, how's he going to feel about this? Him and Lois are a couple. He sees Jason as his son. So this would have been a very compelling movie. And I always think it's sad it never happened. Now, this film made just under 400 million. Now, what went wrong was, and actually Brandon doesn't explain this, but this is what happened. It was greenlit, but then we had the writer's strike, which put the film on hold. And what happened was, when they came back, Warner Brothers reassessed that they didn't want to make the movie. And I think by that point, they started to see that maybe there was another direction to go in. And this is exactly what they did. Now, ironically, this is what they tried to do after Justice League. And I think now they know what they're going to do. They're just not releasing it to confirm it. But I'm sure very soon we're going to hear about that. Anyway, why Superman Returns 2 never happened, according to Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh, who portrayed Superman in 2006's Superman Returns, has explained why a sequel to the blockbuster film never came to fruition. Brandon Routh opened up about why a sequel to Superman Returns never came to pass. Superman Returns, which hit theatres in 2006, grossed 391 million. Now, back then, this wasn't too bad, obviously. It's not good enough for a Superman film, and we can't pretend. It was up against a Pirates of the Caribbean film. Now, again, people said, oh, how can Superman lose out to Pirates? Pirates was the biggest film franchise at that time. But unfortunately, because the mainstream audience didn't all totally love Superman Returns, everyone went to see Pirates. Unfortunately, it wasn't about Superman failing. It was about this Superman film not captivating people's imagination, because there was more story than action, and that became rather problematic. Now, what happened with Man of Steel was that went the other way, and then you still can't please the mainstream. It's crazy, right? 391 million globally against a budget of 270 million. While the film was met with mostly positive reviews from critics and fans, with many feeling Ralph was one of the best actors to portray Superman, the superhero film never received a sequel. As a result, the character was rebooted yet again in 2013's Man of Steel, where Henry Cavill took on the iconic character's role, which grossed a whopping 668 million worldwide. Yeah, that was great. But even that, Superman should be making more than that. And again, it's because it divided opinion. When you make a film that divides opinion, it doesn't mean Man of Steel isn't one of the greatest movies ever made, which I think it is, right? Greatest CBM origin movies ever made. But when you divide opinions and you do something like Man of Steel, it's going to cost you at the box office. And this is what Superman Returns did as well. Superman Returns followed the hero's return to Earth after thoroughly examining his home world of Krypton. Now, as I say, that scene was actually cut out of Superman Returns, which I think was rather problematic and really hurt the narrative of the film. You can see it on the bonus features of the Superman Returns Blu-ray if you've got it. A brilliant sequence. It's all been edited, CGI'd. It's a brilliant scene that should have been a pre-credit sequence before the main title sequence started up. So, the homeworld of Krypton. The Man of Steel is coming to realise how significantly things have changed. Ready to prove his importance to the world yet again, as Lex Luthor hatches another scheme that puts it in considerable peril. In addition to Ralph, the film starred Kate Bosworth, James Marsden, Kevin Spacey, Parker Posey, Frank Langella, Sam Huntington, and Cal Penn. While many fans were disappointed that a sequel to the blockbuster film never come to fruition, Ralph has recently opened up about why a follow-up never moved forward. In an interview from Speedy Comics Con via Comic Book, Brandon Routh discussed why a sequel to Superman Returns never received the green light. When asked why the sequel never moved forward at the studio, Routh responded by stating, "The intention was to do a sequel, as I've just explained to you, always to do with a big tentpole movie like that." Routh explains in the video above they want to make more as long as they feel like they're recouped the money that they've invested into the film. At the end of the day, the studio Warner Brothers decided it was too much of a gamble for them to do a sequel. Imagine saying doing a Superman sequel is a gamble. And this is why I've always explained to you, if Superman was owned by Disney, they would be squirting Superman films. Like I, squirt every time I see an Instagram model, right? Sorry to be so crude, but I can't think of another analogy here. And so, to say a Superman movie is a gamble, they already got their money back and made a little bit of a profit, right? The sequel would have been successful because it would have had the action and everything that Warner Brothers demanded. This was wrong. The creative entities, the writers and the directors, were on to other things. Certain people at the studio who were excited about Superman had left. Sorry, let's say that again. Certain people who at the studio who were excited about Superman had left to go on to other projects at other studios. So it was both the passion and the interest in Superman dissipated. How can you lose as a studio passion and interest in Superman? That tells you everything about the old Warner Brothers, the old regime. Anyway, so yeah, other studios. So it was both the passion and the interest in Superman dissipated, and the movie, I guess for them, didn't bring back enough monetary success for them to pull the trigger on it, which is a shame because, as I say, they got the money back and made a little bit of profit, and I think Superman Man of Steel would have made them around the same as Man of Steel. That's just my personal opinion. When a sequel to the 2006 film stalled and ultimately faded away, fans were left wondering what would have happened to Ralph's Clark Kent. After the first film's events, fortunately, Ralph was able to get the opportunity to reprise the role of Clark Kent Superman in the Arrowverse's Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event. Through Ralph's triumphant return to the role, fans were able to see what the character was up to and how his story evolved in the years since Superman Returns release. Many even feeling this Superman was vindicated as a result. I didn't need vindication for this Superman. Brandon Routh's performance, especially as Superman in Superman Returns, is exquisite. It's amazing. This is a guy who had just done soaps previously. It was an amazing performance that he did and Bryan Singer got from him. It's a shame Bryan disrespected him and blamed him for the failure of the movie. That's a shame and disrespectful. Superman Returns showcased Ralph's fantastic portrayal of the hero, laying the groundwork for a worthwhile take on a character that has received a myriad of iterations. Considering the film was relatively successful at the box office, it came as a shock a sequel never entered development. Ralph has even previously stated that he was devastated Superman Returns 2 never happened. However, his explanation helps clarify why the studio decided to lay the character to rest again, which should help answer any lingering questions from fans. While his Superman may never fly on the big screen again, fans can always rewatch Superman Returns, which I always do, by the way, or his turn on Crisis on Infinite Earths to get their fix of his version of the superhero. We're going to see him again. We are going to see him again. We must see him again. We will see him again. I can assure you on that. There are talks. I think Brandon's... Oh, I read something the other day, didn't I, on this very channel, on the DCEU Daily, him saying there's a possibility of him being involved in Andy Muschietti's Flashpoint. He's definitely in that film. But I believe there's a bigger future for this Superman and other Superman as well. So it's very, very exciting. Brandon Routh deserves more Superman content on the big screen and the small screen. I understand that these editions of the DCEU Daily I do when I'm reading lots of articles don't get many views, but this is why I conceived the DCEU Daily, to read out articles and talk about what's going on in the franchise. I think it's very, very important. And here's another really, really good article from Screen Rant by Andy, whose surname we cannot pronounce. Black Adam will introduce the DCEU's most powerful superhero. Yeah, I'm really excited about this movie. Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam film will be introducing the Justice Society, with one of their members set to become the DCEU's most powerful superhero. Black Adam, one of the big upcoming DC films, will be introducing one of, if not the most powerful superheroes to the DCEU through Dr. Fate. Yeah, you know, I've spoken about Dr. Fate before. I knew nothing about him until I saw him in the Smallville movie event, Absolute Justice. He was wonderfully written and played. Jeff Johns did a really good job writing him. And, you know, if they go to that level or beyond, well, they've got to go beyond, by the way, because Smallville was a TV show, but they did an amazing job with that character. He's really an interesting character, and especially the psychological elements of the character, and I hope they can capture that in this movie. While best known as the nemesis to Shazam portrayed by Zachary Levi, Dwayne Johnson's iteration of Black Adam will cast a new light on the DC character for his live-action debut. Black Adam will be portrayed as an anti-hero in his story before eventually clashing with the superhero version of Billy Batson. However, Black Adam's big screen adventure will also bring a couple of other DC characters to the DCEU. While they have been featured on the CW through Stargirl as of late, the DCEU film will also see the cinematic debut of the Justice Society of America so far. Details are still limited, but 4 members of the iconic Golden Age superhero group will be seen in the movie, with Aldis Hodge and Noah Centineo joining the cast as Hawkman and Atom Smasher. Black Adam is also looking to cast the teenage heroine Cyclone, as well as the powerful Dr. Fate. As exciting as it's to see the JSA coming to the big screen, it's a major deal for the DCEU to introduce Dr. Fate. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Fate's massive, but so is Hawkman. This is all very exciting. While the DC universe has multiple powerful magic-based heroes like Zatanna, John Constantine and Raven, Dr. Fate is on a whole different level. Even though many have carried the title of the famous sorcerer, Dr. Fate is actually one of the oldest sorcerers in the DC realm. The most iconic character to be associated with the title is Kent Nelson, which is the iteration that will be seen in Black Adam. Fate's power comes through the Helmet of Naboo, or Helmet of Fate, as certain versions have referred to it as, which is almost a character in itself. As Dr. Fate has been seen in shows like Smallville, Young Justice, Naboo's helmet has been depicted as incredibly complicated, and it is, and it messes with your mind, it fucks up your head, as it does to Kent Nelson, and the version of Kent on Smallville. What a great performance by that actor. One day I'm going to remember his name, because he deserves shouting out. Whoever wears the helmet wields a great amount of power, which sometimes comes at a huge cost. Despite there being multiple magic heroes in the DC world, Dr. Fate's magic is an older and frankly complex kind of sorcery. Seeing some of the more mainstream supernatural heroes go up against Fate would be interesting to say the least, as it would take a lot to defeat him even as a group. So far, the DCEU has introduced a lot of powerful heroes already from DC Comics, particularly metahumans, aliens and more. But magic is something that the other films haven't particularly focused on, with the exception of a few such as Enchantress and Shazam. Black Adam will continue to explore the aspect of the DC universe with not just Johnson's character, but also Dr. Fate. Given how many have carried the Dr. Fate mantle or helmet, to be more exact, this could present some interesting opportunities in the future. Despite being as powerful as he is, Kryptonite isn't Superman's only weakness, as he can be affected by magic as well. Yes, that is true. Superman is weakened by magic, and Smallville was brilliant. Again, Smallville taught me about how magic can make Clark get weak, just like Kryptonite can. So that's very interesting. Magic has even effects on godlike heroes like Wonder Woman, which I didn't know actually, which is why Dr. Fate's cinematic arrival is a major milestone for the DCEU. His truest weakness is, ironically, however, is wearing the helmet and could possibly overwhelm Naboo. It's currently a bit unclear what the timeline is fully like for Black Adam in terms of the DCEU continuity. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Assuming it takes place at least several years before the events of Man of Steel, Dr. Fate will have at least been around for a few decades. However, whoever gets cast as Dr. Fate will possibly have an interesting time in the DCEU after Black Adam. Even if Kent Nelson never appears in the present timeline, someone else could be wearing the helmet of Naboo by the time the Justice League meets Dr. Fate. If that were to happen, Black Adam will have managed to bring in Dr. Fate as the most powerful superhero to the DCEU. Very interesting, because the question I want to ask you right now, and I want you to stamp it down in the comments below, is this the first version of Dr. Fate? Is Kent Nelson in the DC Extended Universe narrative the first person to put the helmet of Naboo on, or have many others done it before? Now that's going to be interesting when we finally meet him in Black Adam. But yeah, This is getting really exciting now because Jim Lee and Walter Hamada are really getting their hands on this franchise and they're expanding it. And an expansion is exactly what it needs at this point. Wow, what a couple of years for James Gunn. He went from being sacked from his dream project of Guardians of the Galaxy and then turning up with DC to do his version of the Suicide Squad. And I think we were all shocked about the announcement that he was doing a Peacemaker spin-off exclusive to HBO Max. And I'm really looking forward to the Suicide Squad movie and this. But he's getting ready to make it now. They're forming in a bubble for the next 2 weeks, and I think they will start filming very soon. Peacemaker TV show filming soon. James Gunn begins 2 weeks quarantine. The Suicide Squad's HBO Max spin-off, Peacemaker, is set to begin filming soon as James Gunn heads into his mandatory 2-week quarantine. By Rachel Abernathy. The Suicide Squad's HBO Max spin-off, Peacemaker, is set to begin filming soon as James Gunn heads into his mandatory 2-week quarantine as writer and director of the Suicide Squad. Gunn will usher in a new attempt at bringing the DC Comics anti-hero team to the big screen. The Suicide Squad isn't quite a sequel to David Ayer's 2016 film, but it also isn't quite a reboot, as several characters will make the jump from the first to the second beyond that. Gunn's films will see a brand new Task Force X embark on a mission, and it's certain that not everyone will survive, but yeah, a lot of people are dying, including Harley Quinn, maybe. Don't tell everyone. The Suicide Squad cast list boasts some impressive names, but one has already been singled out as an MVP. In September, news broke that John Cena will headline a spin-off series based on his character for HBO Max. Peacemaker will reportedly uncover the origins of Cena's douchey Captain America, though Gunn, who is once again playing dual roles of writer and director, refuses to say where it is set before or after the Suicide Squad. Cena will be joined by fellow The Suicide Squad cast member Steve Agee as John Okonomos, a warden at Belle Reve Federal Penitentiary. Fans knew for some time that Peacemaker would begin filming relatively soon, but now it's clear the start of production is mere weeks away. Gunn took to social media to share he was recently gifted a new Xbox, and that through he's in a busy period because of 2 movies and a television show. He just might find some time. As I begin my mandatory 2-week quarantine here in Canada for Peacemaker, before it was reported Peacemaker would start production in January, but that might not be the case anymore. This is what James had to say. I actually did see this tweet. Lovely gift from my friends at Xbox, of course. It's in the busiest time of my life between 2 movies and a TV show, but perhaps I'll find some downtime as I begin my mandatory 2-week quarantine here in Canada for Peacemaker. Let me just say something about that free Xbox. Nothing to do with the DCEU Daily, but I've got to say this, right? Influencers keep on getting PlayStation 5s and the new Xbox, right? While the companies who are making them say they have a shortage, and most of us, people like me, won't have an opportunity to actually fairly purchase one. But these influencers, these directors, these famous people are getting them as gifts. Do you wonder why there's not enough for people to buy? But of course we know there's enough. This is just to create a consumer hunger. We know that. I just thought I'd talk about that because it really pisses me off. With Peacemaker starting relatively soon, fans might get a first look at the series before the Suicide Squad even rolls out in theatres. Currently, the DCEU film is scheduled for release in August 2021, and it's unclear if Peacemaker will debut before then. Most likely, it'll premiere afterwards, seeing as its placement in the timeline is being considered a spoiler. There's also a chance that filming won't truly get underway until 2021. They don't know that. Why? Hang on. Why is it getting in a bubble already then? Come on. Don't be stupid. There's also a chance that filming won't truly get underway to 2021, which would solidify Peacemaker's premiere coming after the Suicide Squad. This also suggests Gunn could begin production on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in the latter half of 2021, blah, 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 blah. We don't care about the MCU, not on this video. So, yeah, I expect I'm going to contradict what, I think, was it Rachel or whoever she is, right? I'm going to contradict what she said. I think if you're in a 2-week bubble, you're about to start filming in the next few weeks. So it's going to happen. It's very exciting. I do agree with her. It's probably set after his Suicide Squad movie. That's why he won't tell us if it's set before or after. But another exciting project for the DCEU, and especially for HBO Max. Ray Porter is hoping to return as Darkseid in a Justice League sequel. So this is what he had to say. I hope so. I would like that. I would love to see that. And obviously I would hope that whoever does that will have me along for the ride. Yeah, I would love to see a continuation of it. And honestly, personally, would love to see a continuation of Zack's story. So yeah, I really hope so. That would be great. I've not heard anything about it, but you know, hope. Don't lie, Ray. You know you've heard stuff about it. You know Zack Snyder's Justice League Season 2 is happening and so on and so forth. Great to hear that Ray's up for it, though. And I'm really excited to see his or hear his performance as Darkseid. Finally today, we are going to read an article suggested by Scott Edwards, and it's about Superman and Lois having another Earth's version of Lex Luthor. Now, I loved John Crye's depiction of Lex Luthor on Supergirl. I think it was great. And when I heard Superman and Lois had been greenlit, I thought, yes, Tyler and John at it. You know, as respectively Superman and Lex Luthor. This is going to be awesome. But it looks like that's not the direction we're going in. This is actually an article from June, but I do remember hearing about this, us having another Lex Luthor from another Earth. So let's give it a read. This is by John Atkinson of The Hollywood Reporter. Superman and Lois will debut a new villain to the Arrowverse called The Stranger, but new reports suggest that it will be a new take on Lex Luthor. Right, I like the idea of there being someone called The Stranger, though. That's kind of interesting. Like a cancer man from X-Files, like that. Really good. Fresh reports have suggested that Superman and Lois will feature an iteration of Lex Luthor from another Earth, played by Tyler Hoechlin, the Arrowverse's version of Clark Kent's Superman. Debuted during Supergirl Season 2, the character has remained an intermittent presence ever since, was eventually joined by Elizabeth Tulloch as Lois Lane. The pair were introduced to the CW's wider shared universe when they aided the heroes during Elseworlds crossover event. They both returned during the even more ambitious and well-received Crisis on Infinite Earths, serving as both an ending and a new beginning for the Arrowverse. Crossing on Infinite Earths had far-reaching implications. Not only did it serve as the dramatic swan song for Oliver Queen, Stephen Amell, and the changing of the regular superhero god, but it merged various parallel Earths into one. Though previously inhabitants of Earth 38, Superman, Lois Lane, and the cast of Supergirl now lived on Earth Prime, alongside the other heroes, including the relative Arrowverse newcomers of Batwoman. The move directly set up the titular standalone series for Superman and Lois, which skipped the pilot stage and was immediately greenlit for 13-episode season. Soon after the announcement, casting details revealed that Wal Parks would play a mysterious villain known only as The Stranger, and Emmanuel Trichy would feature as Lana Lang. According to the Illuminati, an anonymous source has revealed to them, they're always anonymous, aren't they, to them that The Stranger will actually be Lex Luthor from a parallel Earth. As it stands, the potential revelation is a little more than a rumour at this stage. As such, it should be taken with a grain of salt. However, the report does line up with previous Superman and Lois details, which stated that the Stranger would be on a mission to prove that the world doesn't need Superman. Since the character's comic book debut in 1940, that goal has been one that Lex Luthor has pursued with ruthless efficiency across several different mediums. A version of Lex Luthor already exists within the Arrowverse, played by John Cryer. The character first appeared on screen during Supergirl Season 4, Episode 15, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Despite it being established he was a long history with Arrowverse's Superman, he has mostly persisted as a nemesis for Kara, Danvers, Supergirl, Melissa Benoist. That does little to offset the accuracy of the rumour. However, after all, the multiverse has long been an established part of the Arrowverse, with heroes frequently visiting and visited by characters from parallel Earths. Though that multiverse was seemingly wiped out of existence during Crisis on Infinite Earths, several brief vignettes, including one with the heroes of DC's Universe's Stargirl, revealed that it was still out there, unbeknownst to the heroes. If the rumours turn out to be true, it would therefore open several interesting avenues for Superman and Lois and the wider Arrowverse. It could be through the version of Lex that Superman and the rest of the heroes finally learn of the new multiverse. True. That in turn will pave the way for interesting crossover potential and even more fresh iterations of familiar characters. Equally, it would allow Clark Kent to have his comic book nemesis without encroaching on Supergirl and needing viewers to be familiar with the history of that show's Lex. You wouldn't need anyone to be familiar with Lex Luthor. It's Lex Luthor, you idiots. Based on his past work, Park certainly has the right demeanour and gravitas to pull off a compelling and distinct Lex Luthor. As such that, and the mere idea of the Man of Steel facing off against a version of his iconic arch enemy would also no doubt further excite even those already eager for the show. So this is very interesting because Parks, the actor they're talking about, is an actor of colour. This shouldn't really have any relevance. I mean, I don't think we've had a black Lex Luthor before. Maybe there's one in the comics. That's not really relevant. But again, it brings me back to my point the other day when that writer was accusing the CW of not representing people of colour the right way. Now, if she's going to be upset because Parks is playing a villain, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. A villain should be any colour, come from any community or any background. It doesn't matter if you're black. It doesn't mean it's saying every single black person is a criminal. It's saying that they want to represent, they want to be inclusive, and that's why they've decided to pull out a black version of Lex Luthor from another Earth. This is what part of the multiverse strategy was always going to do. Jim Lee even told us that on Fandom. So I think this is great. I like the concept of the Stranger, and I mean the excitement for Superman and Lois isn't just from the Arrowverse. Every Superman fan out there is so excited, including me. And I believe that the person running this show ran Flash Season 1 and 2. That's why I have so much faith on this project, because I think it's going to have a great first 2 seasons at least. Who knows what happens to it? But obviously it's been given an initial 13-episode run, so it has to be a hit. I think it will be a hit. I think it's got a very unique concept to it with the fact they're moving to Smallville, that this is their life now on Earth Prime. They've suddenly got 2 sons. One's got powers, one hasn't. Some very interesting situations will evolve from this show. The point being, Superman has got his own TV show after all these years, and that couldn't make me more excited. Now, comment down below, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.